Hi guys, Sandy Ingram here. Welcome. This is the latest news coming out of Iraq. But before we get into the news, here's what the channel wants IQD investors to know. Remember, just before the last parliament election, everyone believed that the prime minister would be selected for a second term. In fact, he was so sure of this chain of events that he redecorated the prime minister's office. The United States went on about the business of laying the groundwork for the country to prosper, along with the World Bank, the IMF, and the UK. The US did not appear to be happy with al-Sadr getting so many seats or power within Parliament, but it looked like it was no big deal. Al-Sadr fought against the US in 2003. However, when the Iran-backed citizens in Iraq, along with Maliki, a previous prime minister of Iraq, backdoored the elections and Parliament selected the existing prime minister, that is when all hell broke loose. But it was a silent upset. Then al-Sadr was invited to the White House and everything looked like it would be okay. This is the channel's assessment of the situation. Nowhere will you find this information in writing by a news agency. However, the facts support this assessment. The US backtracked to find out where the mistake, the mole, or the traitor to the previous groundwork is or was. The US Federal Reserve pulled back on the US dollars, and for a hot moment, it looked like the Iraqi economy would crash. And before you attack me in the comment section, check your facts. Use your fingers and search Google. And remember, I'm registered with the Department of Treasury. I can go to prison for lying to US taxpayers. In January of 2024, Iraq made it illegal to use the US dollars in transactions for Iraqi citizens within the country. The channel's guest is they, meaning the United States, and Iraqi citizens who are still angry that al-Sadr gave up his political power, figure it out. The channel does not know exactly what they figured out, but we have our suspicions. I said all of this to say that we as investors must be prepared for the payback of this little coup or backdoor effort by Iran-backed parliament members. And two, Iran is trying to get their hands on Iraq's 100 billion US dollars in the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City. In other words, do not get comfortable with the progress that Iraq is making. There may be a few steps backward and then a lot of steps forward. The tear in the country is showing. Parliament went on winter break without resolving some very, very serious issues within the country, including the new law that would allow marriage for 9-year-old girls, and the Kurdish oil issue and payment for workers in the Kurdish region. Well, this is what happened because of this chain of events.
Stay until the end to learn how this latest event might affect the Iraqi dinar. Things are not as bad as they seem. Iraqi independent MP Mohammed al-Ziyadi has announced plans to call for early elections and dissolve the current parliament, accusing it of failing to address critical legislation and effectively serve the nation. In a statement to Shafaq news agency, al-Ziyadi lamented, "The House of Representatives, during its extended legislative term, has failed to pass significant and contentious laws. Political bloc leaders have been unable to manage sessions effectively, resulting in a failure to meet the needs of citizens and the nation. He warned that if the legislative deadlock continues after the holiday recess, he will lead efforts to collect signatures demanding early elections. Al-Ziyadi emphasized the urgency of breaking this stagnation by proposing amendments to the election law and setting a date for new elections once the legislative break concludes. The crisis reached a tipping point on December 8 when the Parliament failed to hold its scheduled session to vote on key laws. These included amendments to the 1959 Personal Status Law, the restitution of properties confiscated by the dissolved Revolutionary Command Council, and revisions to the General Amnesty Law of 2016. Despite a 30-day extension of the legislative term beginning November 7, lawmakers could not resolve these issues, pushing them to the next term. The legislative holiday, which began on December 9, will last until January 9, 2025, as outlined in Article 58 of the Iraqi Constitution. Political analyst Saif al-Saadi commented on the situation, stating, "The extended term's failure to make progress has further eroded public confidence in Parliament's ability to function. The persistent inefficiency and lack of consensus have left critical laws in limbo." As calls for change grow louder, Iraq faces increasing pressure to address its legislative paralysis and restore public trust in its political system. Guys, if they dissolve Parliament, this will set off a firestorm of events. But not to worry. The Central Bank of Iraq is not directly connected to the politics of Iraq. If you want proof of this theory, you only have to look at Haiti to see that through the gang uprisings and all the trouble Haiti has been through, the Haitian currency remained relatively unchanged. We can only hope that the IQD will remain constant as Iraq works through these issues.